rabbis, of course, do have a ritual function, but it's a very different ritual function from a priest. So, and the priest would have been leading rituals in the temple, and rabbis have a very different role in the shul or the synagogue or the today's temple, right? Do you want to talk about that for a minute for me?
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny, whenever I say the word priest in religious school when I'm teaching the kids, they're like, priest? I thought those are Catholic. So when we talk about priests, we're talking about the Kohanim, Cohen, any Jew you know with the last name Cohen, right? Like that's the direct connection there. And the Kohanim were the descendants of Aaron, right? Aaron, biblical Aharon, who were given the task of running things in the capital T temple. So they were given, it was not a higher rank, it was just a different specific task. And this is actually really important to note. Judaism has never really had a hierarchy of connection to God in the way that other traditions and religions do. So the Kohanim are not any closer to God than your average Shlomo. And neither am I, right? Like as a rabbi, I am no closer to God. I am no more capable of talking to God than anyone else on this planet. And that's really, really important, right? So the idea that I would pray on your behalf, I'm happy to, but you also can pray on your own behalf, and it's going to be just as effective as any prayer that I offer. So the Kohanim were very ritual oriented, and the rabbis, or the proto-rabbis, were scholars. They studied the text, and text has always been a key component of Judaism. Before it was written down, it was oral and you repeated it. It was spoken out loud on market days. We chant Torah on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. To this day, that is when Torah is chanted. And those 3 days are chosen because Mondays and Thursdays were market days and Saturday was Shabbat. So you wanted Torah to be heard when as many people as possible were in the place to hear it. Proto-rabbis were those who knew the Torah best. And after the temple was destroyed, those proto-rabbis were the ones who wrote down kind of the first cheat sheet on how to do Jewish without a temple. And over time, those rabbis continued to develop their scholarly output and write more and more and more and more and more, and create more for more to be studied, more commentaries on what had been written, et cetera, et cetera. And they became known as the leaders of communities. They were the people that your whole community would be like, we have this Jewish problem and we don't know how to fix it. They would write a letter, which is known as a she'elah, a question, and they'd send it to the rabbi of the region, and the rabbi would write his responsa, his teshuvah, his response, and send that back. And that would be kind of like the new way of doing that thing in the community. In modernity, rabbis have become known as or seen as the spiritual leaders of the community. What's fascinating is that cantors, the Hebrew word for cantor is chazan, and the cantor has actually been a really key component of leadership in the Jewish community as well for centuries and centuries. And the chazan, or the cantor, is often the person who actually is at the core of leading prayer. So they're like the liturgists. And then rabbis were always the scholars. But as the role has transformed, I would say that today, much of what you think of when you think of a spiritual leader in any community, that's a lot of my role and Cantor's roles as well, right? So I am a spiritual counselor. I am like teaching and preaching and doing a lot of listening And I think we all do a little less learning than we would like to, and then that I think our ancestors once did. I don't do very much barbecue.